Hello, everyone. This is Dare to Speak, and this is part two of this controversial video. Now, the thing about this is I'm trying to again prove a point. I'm not out to just to deliberately insult someone because that's not the type of person I am, and I'm not trying to promote. I'm not trying to promote that type of idea to begin with. Now, I left off about the Hispanics between the Spaniards and the European Hispanics with more dark-skinned Aztec types. Now, that's what I noticed, like I said before, especially in the workplace, and also growing up in my 20s and going further back, in my teenage years when I was in high school. I noticed even when in high school there was I noticed not only with Hispanic women but also with blacks. A lot of the black girls that were very dark, they were more African looking compared to the ones that are lighter skinned. They were more a little bit European, or they had they didn't have as much as you could tell they were mixed either with Hispanic. Like this one black Puerto Rican girl that I knew in high school. She was very beautiful. She was light skinned because she was mixed with African American, Puerto Rican, and some European. I think Irish. I think Irish or something like that. I'm not really sure. And her name was uh, Brenda, I think, or I don't know. But she signed my yearbook, and I could get it right away, but I don't know if I should do that now. But the thing about it is, a lot of people were like raving about her. She had a body and stuff like that, and a lot of the uh, girls that were dark skinned and a lot of the black girls were very resentful. I mean, they looked down on her. They said, "Oh, that bitch thinks she's fucking, that she thinks she's it or whatever like that." And she had a Brenda or whatever her name is. I think her name is Brenda, but she had a very good character. I mean, she wasn't really stuck up, as far as I know. She was always nice to me. And I was a big time nerd, you know. I was skinny and I had glasses and I was one of those Dungeons and Dragons kind of nerdy people. But she was always very nice to me. And of course, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did kind of lusted over her. I mean, she was gorgeous. And the thing about it is, she was always nice to me, and I never, not once, saw her being very disrespectful or talk bad about other girls that were not as pretty. And there was a lot of resentment towards a lot of the black girls there, especially the ones that were dark skinned and looked a certain way. And there was also a lot of black guys that preferred her over other girls that they knew. And they got more angry when a lot of these black girls found out that they chose that girl, Brenda, over them. As far as to flirt with, as far as flirting and this and that, they would get extremely fucking angry. And then when it got so bitter, I started to wonder, okay, yeah, they're jealous of her because she has the ideal sex appeal that they don't have, that they will never have. Because, again, I'm not trying to be mean. It's just what I noticed. And there was a lot of black guys and Hispanics, whatever, that said the same thing, except a few of them said things that were very mean. That they didn't like the ones that were very dark skinned, that looked a certain way because they saw them as being ugly. Saying this one looks more like a monkey. Uh, and then this one looks more like a gorilla. And they would like constantly just make fun of their own kind. They looked a certain way. And they were praising the ones that were more light skinned and had less African and more mixed of other races, especially European. They were like, oh my God, she's so fucking hot. She's so fine. And they preferred them over the more African type women because they saw them as being unattractive. Especially the ones that were ghetto, especially very ghetto. And one guy, one time when we talked about Mike Tyson and certain other people and stuff like that, when we talked about, I don't know, if it was a documentary, I think it's called The Fallen Champ. Now, this was like years ago. This was after high school. This is way after high school, where we're talking about certain people, about the way they looked. I was working in a food kitchen for a hospital. I was in my early 20s, and there was a VHS tape that they had available. It's called The Fallen Champ, talking about Mike Tyson. And they talked about a part where he was bullied in school because of the way he looked. Teddy Atlas was saying something about how the kids in school would tease him a lot because of his size. They would call him Mighty Joe Young, that gorilla, the big gorilla thing, or some would say yeah, he looks like King Kong or this and that. And they always say a lot of mean things. And I'm just saying to myself, it's not because of his size, it's because of the way he looks. And then and this was a black guy that said, right after I said that part, he said, well, yeah, because of the way he looks. I mean, look at the 1977 movie of King Kong, the one with Jessica Lange. And you see, doesn't that fucking gorilla look like Mike Tyson? And I started to laugh, at that time. At that time I thought it was funny. But to hear a black guy make fun of another black person, saying that they look like this, and it's, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty fucked up. But that's the type of racism. But he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just trying to prove a point about something. So that's what I considered, in a sense, an aspect of constructive racism. Now, even though it was mean, and even though he took it a little bit too far, I thought he took it too far. And there was also, that I noticed from a talk show of Tyra Banks, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who Tyra Banks is. When she had a talk show, and the subject was about people that are attractive, how they have a much better, happier life than people that are unattractive, and that's known to be true. That's known to be very true. And the thing is, she came up to this one guy in the audience who said that he and his friends. He was a college guy, a big time college guy. And he said that he and his friends will make fun of this other guy at his college, at his university, because he was very country. They would say he's a country nigger, country nigger, whatever like that, saying mean things. And this is a black guy saying this. And they said they would make fun of him because of his lack of education and the way he looks, saying that he looks like King Kong because he looks like a gorilla. And he starts laughing. he starts laughing when he was when he was being interviewed or whatever. When she came up to him talking to him, he just said, "Yeah, he looks like a gorilla, and we'll make fun of him because of the way he looks and this and that." And Tyra Banks was like saying, "Don't you feel bad about saying that? Don't you think that's mean?" And he's like, "No." and and then he kept on talking about whatever about why he said it, why he felt he had to say it like that, and the look, the look on Tyra Banks's face when she was interviewing, like she looked like she wanted to fucking clock him in the jaw, like she wanted to fucking like clock him right in the jaw for saying that. She had that look, like, like, motherfucker, if I could fucking punch you in the face right now, kind of thing. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't really say it like that, but I understand his point. But you have to draw a line in how you criticize somebody. You can't just deliberately insult someone. Now, this guy, this black dude who said that, I could just tell that he was very whitewashed. Like Carlton Banks. Is that unusual? And that kind of thing. He was he was one of those college guys that were very preppy with the Letterman sweater, and member of the Glee Club, student council, kind of thing like that, smiling. He had that type of look and that type of attitude, and so the rest of his friends. Now I could tell that he was big time whitewashed, that Carlton Banks kind of thing, but and he didn't feel bad about what he said. Now, that's the crazy world we live in. I mean, that's just how it is. Now, constructive racism can go too far. If you're saying something, for one thing, if you're saying something like about, like, yeah, a lot of these fucking black people, they caused this trouble over here at State Fair. There was a festival that happened, and there was a big fight that broke out because a lot of these this large group of black people started a fight, and it got extremely violent, and they were thrown out by security, and they were cussing and this and that, and they started beating people up as they left because they were very angry, and they said that they threw us out because of they were racist or discriminated against. But then there was, and it was on the news also, but there was some people who said that that wasn't the case. It was because they were extremely ghetto, and the way they acted, and they were actually pretty much having an unsavory attitude, and some kind of a, I don't know, dispute happened or whatever. And when a ghetto person who's really, big time ghetto trash gets angry, they get very unreasonable. They start cussing, and they start, or their ebonics and stuff like that. And they went as far as to cause some kind of trouble, which was very criminal what they did. No, I'm glad that they got thrown out. And the guy was saying these fucking black people, and then of course he used the N word. He did use the word nigger, and this and that. But I'm like, don't say it like that. It's not because of, don't don't call them that. It's just because of the fact that they're ghetto. It has nothing to do with them being black. It's because they're ghetto trash. There's black people who don't act like that. They're more civilized and things like that. And there's some from the hood that don't act that way. So it's not a racial thing. It's more of a social class, more of a character thing. So constructive racism is when you see something that's racist, but not to be mean, but to prove a point. And you need to prove a point about that. And that's how it is even with Hispanics. I grew up with, in high school with Latin Kings, and they were fucking acting stupid as fuck. A lot of them were like big time troublemakers, and there was some that did stupid things. They stole from people. They strong armed somebody one time and stole their stuff. They beat up a white couple just because of they were throwing snowballs at their car, and the white guy came out and started fighting with one of the kids, and they all jumped him. His girlfriend or wife or whatever came out of the car to try to stop it. She got beat up along with them. It was like 35 against 2. And they almost beat them to death. And then the sirens came by, and then they all dispersed. They all left. And there was some people there, some kids there that thought right before that happened, they started laughing. They thought it was funny seeing 2 white people get beat up. Just because they were white. And, they're saying that's, it's like saying payback for racial discrimination and this. It's not fucking payback, you dumb fuck. That's what I was saying. And I was considered an Uncle Tom, a fucking sellout for saying that, for saying how I feel. I mean, a lot of these Hispanics, a lot of these guys that were junior kings, they were JKs. They were pretty much, they were thugs. I mean, they were stupid asses. The only reason they never messed with me because I knew them. I grew up with them. I knew some of them from elementary school, so they pretty much knew me from the neighborhood. They knew I was a cool guy, so I never had any trouble with them. The thing about it is, there was a lot of that type of resentment and from I noticed from them, and there was also. I mean, I can't say much for black people. I honestly don't know that well. But there was some people that said, yeah, a lot of black people act that way as well, and with their ghetto attitude, and there was some that live across the street that they were like saying motherfucker this, motherfucker that, and their kids would steal things from people from the neighborhood, and that were just pretty much, they had no guidance. They had no positive role model. And someone says, yeah, these black people were causing trouble over here, and these fucking black people there. I mean, there was no need to cuss, but I can understand. Or if someone were to say, yeah, these Hispanic people from these Mexicans over here, or these Puerto Ricans over there are causing trouble doing this and that, which turned out to be true. And this is the reason why a lot of people started feeling afraid, or some of them moved out of the neighborhood. It was because of these black people or these Hispanic people or whatever the case may be. And if they're correct, they're using constructive racism. I mean, maybe not agreeing with that term, constructive racism, which is something that I'm making up right now. It's a made up word that I'm making up, but they do have a point. But it's more of character criticism that people should actually be aware of. You're criticizing the person's character and their lifestyle. Don't criticize their race. It's not about their race. It's about their upbringing, and sorry to say, their family genetics. And also the fact, the environment and the things, and they're not really, they pretty much like born to be losers in a sense. I mean, they're destined for failure because of the fact of the way they were brought up, the environment, their family genetics, all that combined in one. And now that I live in a much better neighborhood, and then that there's a few people here and there that I noticed, some from the building where I live, and some from other part, very close to this building, that were very ghetto and stuff like that. And it's more of that person's character that I'm criticizing, If I say all these black people over here, they're very ghetto and they act stupid. And someone would say, well, stop being racist. I was, no, I'm just saying those black people over there. Now, I look at it as constructive racism because I'm not trying to deliberately insult them for that. I'm just trying to make a point that the reason why things are bad, the reason why there's break-ins to certain cars in the parking lot, is because of these fucking low-rent housing with ghetto trash people that the manager doesn't even bother to do a background check on. They don't bother to do that. And they wonder why there's so much crime or there's a certain degree of crime in the area. Well, that's the point that I'm trying to make. And again, I'm not trying to be mean. Please don't look at it as me trying to be an asshole. I'm just trying to be constructive with this type of thing. So please understand. I hope you understand. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.